One of my goals with this channel is I want to help people that aren't obsessed like me to look at stories more critically. So I'm going to explain a basic concept in storytelling that I think I take for granted, and to explain it, I'm going to show one of the most plain examples just ever put to screen, Wreck-It Ralph. The concept is want versus need, and it's something a lot of great stories have in common. A character will begin their journey because they want something. They want something enough to break out of their status quo and try to get it. But then, through the story, they discover they need something else. Sometimes they're completely unrelated, but I feel the best uses are when the need and the want are tightly knit or mirror images of each other. John McClane wants to save Holly. What he needs is to reconcile with her. Brody wants to kill the shark. What he needs is to face his fears and step up as a man. Ripley wants to survive the planet overrun by xenomorphs. What she needs is to face her fears of the xenomorphs and redeem the accidental abandonment of her daughter. The symbolism in Aliens goes way deeper than just sex. Now, it's perfectly fine for the want to be all there is for just a basic story. John Wick wants to kill the guy who killed his dog. Not much more needed than that. But that does definitionally make it a shallow story, in my opinion. Wreck-It Ralph follows Ralph, who is a bad guy in his video game. His job is to destroy a building that players try to fix. Because of this, all the NPCs in the game treat him like a criminal. They live in the building, but he has to live in the rubble generated by years of breaking the building. He hits a breaking point, and I didn't do that on purpose, and he gets the residents to agree to a scenario where he'll finally be allowed to live in an actual house. Things go downhill in his pursuit. Everyone in his game is in danger of being homeless. And that's when we get this simple exchange with Gene.
This is not what I wanted.
Well, what did you want, Ralph?
I don't know, I was just tired of living alone in the garbage.
That's good. He just tell us what it is that he wants. Why did he do all of this? I was tired of living alone in the garbage. Understandable. Gene responds.
Well, now you can live alone in the penthouse.
Okay, this really isn't that mind-blowing, but it's such a simple display of the want and need. He was tired of living alone in the garbage. Now he's alone in the penthouse. He thought the problem in the sentence was garbage, but it was alone. This is a common occurrence in this want-need dichotomy. The person's want is wrong. Not always. Brody really does need to kill a shark, but in less action-heavy plots, this is a commonality. Meg Ryan in Sleepless in Seattle wants to marry Bill Pullman. She needs to marry Tom Hanks. The three good fairies want to keep Aurora safe. They need to defeat Maleficent. Another commonality in this paradigm is the want is actually achieved and found wanting or abandoned by the protagonist at the Act 3 break. Don't at me. I use a 4-act system. Everyone says 3 acts, but they also say that there's a midpoint in Act 2 that changes the story, so why not make that an extra act break? It just makes sense, and Act 2 is no longer 2/3 of the story. Rant over. This occurs at the Act 3 break if you're cool, and the Act 2 break if you refuse to stand up to big storytelling. One more thing, and this is more helpful for you writers, Greek dramatists split all stories into comedies or tragedies, but they had a much broader definition than we do. Greek stories would introduce a character that had a flaw, something they needed to change about themselves. A comedy was a story where they achieved that need. A tragedy was where they didn't. No character growth. So, if you want a damnation story, give your character a need, but don't let them get it, or even try to get it. Just blindly pursuing their want for the whole story to the detriment of themselves and everyone else. Walter White wants to be his own man and respected by those around him. What he needed was to be noble, but instead of pursuing being a good man, he pursued being a powerful man. I argue that Breaking Bad isn't actually a damnation story, but it is a tragedy. But this doesn't just apply to protagonists. It also applies to villains. Most villains have a want and a need, but they never pursue the need. The evil queen wants to be the fairest of them all, but she needs to let go of that vanity and move on. Darth Vader wants to overthrow the Empire and rule the galaxy with his son. What he needs is to break free of the dark side's influence. Those rare instances of the villain achieving their need are how you tell a salvation story. Zuko wants to reclaim his honor in the eyes of the Fire Nation. He needs to realize that their definition of honor is wrong. So, homework. Next time you watch a movie or read a book, identify what a story's need and want are. If they're the same thing, it's probably a shallow story. But that doesn't mean bad, it just means probably less timeless. I'll see you next time if you subscribe. Bye.